Good afternoon everybody, welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great and welcome to this new video right here on the crypto markets. It's going to be an interesting update. We'll talk about fundamentals first, of course. At this point of time, I think there's another testimony going on by Jerome Powell. I've seen some I've seen some headlines come out of that, but ultimately the most important thing we need to watch is, do the probabilities for a rate cut change, yes or no? And at this point of time, they have increased a little bit, but it is not meaningful or not significant enough, in my opinion, to change the markets. But that's going on right now. There's also a NATO summit going on right now, but so far I followed it a little bit throughout the day, but that's not really, causing any movement to the markets. So there are some fundamentals, and I'll still do a bit of a full fundamental overview in a moment. But there's no major news that we need to talk about right now. So we'll focus on the fundamentals right now. We'll get to Bitcoin, we'll talk about Ethereum, we'll talk about XRP, and then we will focus on some interesting altcoins, such as SEI, but also altcoins in general. All right, so we'll take a look at the others chart, for example. No, not for example, we'll just take a look at the others chart. So let's get right into it. I'll do a full update. Bitcoin is most important, I would say, at this point of time. Since the New York Open, everything has been very correlated to Bitcoin as well. But yeah, that's it. Let's get right into it. The fundamentals right now, first of all, are pretty decent. S&P 500 opened higher, even though it's losing some momentum right here. It's getting near the all-time high, which I've said on my second channel, in which I do updates on the stock market, etc. And I think it's quite difficult to imagine the S&P 500 breaking above that. But, stability at this point of time I do expect. And who knows? I mean, maybe if we actually do get some positive economic data over the course of the next month, maybe we can even break above those all-time highs and continue with the up-only price action we've seen, for example, in the majority of 2024, which would be great. But that is something we'll keep our eyes on. At this point of time, I would say the general financial markets are stable. Volatility index is also dropping down. Gold is also relatively stable, still elevated but stable. And I think oil prices are pretty decent as well. Yeah, oil prices are stable as well. So the general fundamentals are good. Now, if we take a look at and crypto specific fundamentals, by the way, also quite good. There's again quite a significant Coinbase Bitcoin premium, which means that basically that there's heightened demand for Bitcoin on Coinbase. Which is usually a good sign, right? And so far, if you take a look at Bitcoin, as expected, we've moved up to the top of the range. Now, I personally would have loved to see that Bitcoin would fill some of those imbalances to the downside. Now, Bitcoin has quite a lot of imbalances here to the downside. And I think those will get filled, right? Because right now, Bitcoin is moving into the top of the resistance right here, between $108,000 and $110,000. And then the question becomes, and that's also going to be the thumbnail, I think. The question becomes not only for Bitcoin, mainly for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is one of the only coins right now that's at the major resistance level. The question becomes, well, can we actually break out of that, right? I mean, on the 12-hour time frame, you can see it even clearer. Can we break out of this massive resistance level? And even though the fundamentals are quite good right now, my answer is no. I don't think we're going to be able to break out of that level. And even though, on the short term, I think it's completely reasonable to expect with all the bullish momentum and the sentiment that we will push up higher. But I do expect a rejection between 109 and 111. Maybe we'll spike up higher, but ultimately I think that level is going to hold. And then all of a sudden, with all those imbalances down here, we can drop down quite sharply down to the bottom of the range. So that's what I expect for Bitcoin right now. Short term, I think we can see a continuation, but after that, I do think we're going to pull back, and I don't think fundamentally there's enough reasons to suspect a breakout. Also, if you take a look at the volume after the New York Open has been quite good. But it hasn't been as good as it has been before when we actually did break out. So yeah, and then if we take a look at some majors, if you take a look at XRP, this is not even at the top of the resistance, at the top of the range yet. Do I think we can get there? Yes, but I mean, it's so dependent on Bitcoin that I would say the same as what I said this morning for XRP, and that is, expect the pullback first before we're ultimately going up to the top of the range. And then Ethereum is at an even stranger place right now. This is the analysis I did this morning. I still think that's relevant. I do expect that Ethereum at some point of time is going to be able to get some relative strength, right? So so that on the short term, it's going to be able to outperform Bitcoin. But at this point of time, it's quite weak. The volume is quite low, and it's been unable to reclaim back into the range. For comparison, where Bitcoin is, if you would put Bitcoin in the chart of Ethereum, Bitcoin is right here, right? So that signals a general weakness for Ethereum, which is generally not something I personally, at least, would want to buy into. Now, when we're talking about altcoins, quickly wanted to talk about Sei here. Sei is quite interesting, even though there's definitely other coins that are quite interesting as well. A lot of scam coins are moving a lot, but there's more. There's definitely coins to watch. But if we take a look at Sei, has been one of the best cryptos in the last week, certainly. But this also seems to be turning back right here. One of the main catalysts that pushed Sei up was Circle having some Sei on their balance sheet. But Circle is pulling back right now, which is probably in some sort of a way correlated to Sei. So this looks likely to pull back lower. It's also losing some momentum right here, as you can see. So very interesting to potentially buy with the pullback. But for now, it's just very volatile and quite dangerous to trade, I would say, especially also with the open interest right here. And when we're taking a look at altcoins in general, I would say that's at a bit of a risky point here as well. I do think that altcoins will be able to drop down or pull back, I guess is a better word, pull back, bounce up from there and get some more stability higher. I do expect that, but short term, that does mean that I think a pullback for most altcoins is most likely. And this is also definitely not certain, right? So therefore, it's inherently risky. But altcoins have been able to reclaim back into some sort of a balance here. So that's good news in general. But yeah, those are my thoughts, I think, on the markets. There's other altcoins that look quite good right here, but there's limited time in these videos. I told you what I think is most important and what I think you need to know. So if you do have any questions, let me know down in the comments. And take care. I'll see you on my next videos. Bye.